Zenscape. Hey guys, welcome back to Zenscape, where we experience the divine through aqua design. Today we're going to be interviewing Harry in his plant-inspired home, so let's dive in. Hi Harry, thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest at Zenscape.
You're welcome.
A beautiful home, by the way, and of course, beautiful scape. Maybe you can share a bit about how and why do you get into aquascaping in the first place?
Actually, it's an interesting journey. I started when I was secondary 3, and my dad actually came back home with one day just came back home with a goldfish tank. And then back then I have no experience with fish keeping, so he actually asked me to help out with the fish tank instead. So starting from scratch, actually, you start to read more in the library what actually how to manage an normal fish tank even, like how to manage a goldfish tank. Then we started using library more. You see like just a lot more interesting aquascaping books. You know, I know books inspired a lot of people. And then that's where people start to see, oh, actually, there's how do they set up such systems? Like, is it the plant? Is it the what is exactly inside? You see, and then I started to explore more along my journey. I started with a few plantings, and then back then CO2 tank wasn't a common thing. Back then it was really CO2 tablets.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, I'm good sure. It was old enough that CO2 tablets exist, then you just stuff it in the root base.
I mean, there's still some now, right?
They still have it, So that's where you get start to try with these little plants, start putting a new stem, one stem by one stem, and then test a bit of how the plant grows. It was pathetic, but then you start with trying with a few aquascape hardscapes. What I can do well and what can't do well, you see.
Right. And
that's where from there, then you start to explore different style and then read more and inspire more. And then now with social media, there's a lot more inspirations compared to the past.
Right. Wow, the fact that you went to libraries means...
like library.
compared to now, like now it's all
correct.
Google, right?
Correct, so. And then library actually do have a lot of interesting nice books to start with. At least to give you a concept of the nitrogen cycle. At least you read from the basics, what does it mean to kickstart a cycle.
That's true.
That's fundamentally built the aquascaping skills as well from there.
And the good thing about a book is that it guides you in a more systematic way. Rather than online, you don't know what, maybe if you don't know what to search for, you may never search for nitrogen cycle. Right?
I mean, now you can't even find information about undergraduate filter anymore. In the book, it's recently chapter by chapter, types of filters, types of systems, biological, chemical, and mechanical. So it goes by chapters, you see. So it was very comprehensive that you learn the fundamentals from fish keeping first before you move on to aquascape. That helps a lot in terms of managing the stress level in aquascape.
I can imagine.
So
how old is this current scape?
It's around 2.5 years.
Okay.
So the soil hasn't been changed. We just continue adding the scape, modifying the scapes throughout the entire time here.
Got it. Like chopping and changing the plants.
Literally shifting the plants here and there.
Livestock as well.
Livestock hasn't changed. It's still mainly the Cardian Tetra. Galaxies was added in later on because I really wanted to try Galaxies Respora because I really love the little
the details,
dots and little skin. And there's really good photos what you see in social media now and how showcase is beautiful.
And the orange fins as well.
And the blue, a bit blue, bluish. Dark skin against the yellow dots.
That's true. So, and when you were creating this, what was your overall direction or concept?
I think back then I really have, for my old tank, I really moved over the red tiger lily, and the red tiger lily was the main focus point. And I know that the house required a bit more red. And with the house plants are generally more green. So the focal point that comes to the house is the red will be slammed into the fish tank. And that's where the lily will be the main focus back then. So then the aquascape will revolve around the water lily as a central focal point. So now I try to shift it to one side, having this triangular composition instead.
I think
so
it really
more
works.
Balanced. A little bit more balanced than just overshadowing all the plants around the foreground area.
And it is in a way the anchor and statement
correct,
of the tank.
Correct.
And everything seems to flow out of
this
huge bush.
Correct.
Wow. And so it's interesting that you mentioned about considering the terrestrial plants that you have in the home.
Yes.
When you select these plants.
The colours. I mean, our basis is more on colours. So generally the house plants have more green and albino, which is a white one. But the reddish part, it's really very hard to grow in a non-bright environment. That's why I just channel it into the fish tank instead.
Right. So naturally, the redness is kind of striking.
Amidst all. So when you open when you enter the house, the first thing you see is the red color fish tank. Then followed by the rest of the plants.
That's a really cool consideration.
Correct.
When you think about the cohesiveness
of the entire
everything,
home
right?
design plus the tank and how the tank can become a focal point. in the house. Yeah.
What about the other plants in terms of your selection? How did you select them?
So I generally try to balance the color tones. There's really a bit of shades from greens, from light green to dark green to very bright green. So you have you see here Dalnoid, which are a bit more brighter green, and there are really darker greens in terms of like Anubias, Nana, which are more darker greens. Then you have really like shades of different reds. From a bit of orangey as well in between, which you see in this central stem plants. So these two plants are generally a bit more orangey on the tone. So you balance between the orange tone, pinkish tone, red tones, and then you have the very, very bright pink Nurii, Rosen Maiden. Which is actually very bright pinkish red. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about this plant. I mean, it's we don't see it that often.
Correct.
Cryptocoryne Nurii, Rosen Maiden, right? So maybe tell us a bit about how this ended up here.
Okay.
It's so large, somehow like.
I actually went to one of the fish shops in Singapore, and it's located in Red Hill. And so they do have a specimen for sale there. And then I caught it my eye because the name was interesting. And then I started going because I always wanted a Nurii type of crypto because they have this very nice striking markings like a tiger marking.
That's true.
And it's not easy you can find a Nurii. You see it in Singapore. And then this came out to be, when I Google image, it's like, oh, it's so cool. It's pinkish and a bit reddish, so why not try it? So when I bought it, it's pretty dull. It's a bit, just like the old leaf, you see the center a bit orangey instead. And then that's where, when I planted it, I was very conscious about it melting because crypto are very famous for its melt. And luckily my tank was already established. It's really a year plus then. So when I put it in, it didn't melt it started growing non-stop. And then within, I think it's then a year plus or within a year range, actually it's established these large clumps now you see there. And a few times it's been flowering. You can see actually a flower just collects itself. But it will never flower anyway in the water.
Not fully.
It will attempt to flower,
Right. And do you usually snip them off?
I tend to. There was once I actually let it grow all the way up to see how long it can attempt to reach out of the water. So it just stopped halfway. And then the algae started to attack it and kill it off.
I see.
Yeah, but by default it can grow quite tall to attempt to reach out of the surface of water.
Right.
Yeah.
And just for viewers who may not understand why you might clip off a flower, maybe you want to explain a bit about that.
So I think you wanted to conserve the resource of the energy of the plant. So when you cut off the flowers, most of the energy and resource will then channel back to the leaf itself. Then you establish new leaf instead.
Right.
So that's better for the longevity of the plant. So similar for lily, if you don't want water lily to flower, you cut off all the surface floating plants, and then the new leaf will come out more in the aquatic form. And then if you want it to flower, just let it be itself. Then one day it will sprout a flower all the way up to the surface of the water.
Right. Yeah. And this is only after the
leaves
have reached the surface.
Correct, have reached the surface. Yeah. And then they will try with flowers once it's established. Yeah.
Right. So in a way, the plant receives a signal that it's safe to reach the surface.
I more or less know the water level is where I can now estimate and then attempt to flower and to find pollinators beyond the water level. Right. That's the attempt now.
Right. Yeah. It's quite interesting. It's almost like they're sentient beings, right?
They don't know what to do next, kind of thing.
And did you learn about how I've been hearing plants kind of communicate with one another, sending vibrations and different things.
I heard that before. I mean, it was one of the author book in this very famous author called Diana Waslet. I can't remember the second word, obviously, but she's a very famous author that tell people to use the more natural method of putting potting soil. The tank utilizes the carbon within the soil decomposition itself. But I think in her chapter did talk about this eleopagraphy. I can't pronounce that word again.
Sure.
Yeah. So it talks about these plants giving out chemicals and sending signals that will reduce other plants' life, other species' life as well. But I think it's not that critical in the control environment now, like Aquascape. As long as the plants are given sufficient nutrients, your fertilizers, your soil base, I think they are fine on their own. Even overcrowding is normal. They won't really deplete each other and kill each other through their plants, I think. Their own signals.
And that principle maybe is a bit simplistic as well. Maybe
I think so.
I
think in a very survival-based environment like forest, in a very harsh environment, then they need to do that kind of extremes. But in a very well-fed
if they're thriving.
Yeah, thriving. I don't think they will be out competing each other in such an environment. I mean, they will just shade each other. That is normal for any kind of plants. But you just need to trim it off and maintain.
Yeah, and there are probably a lot of variables not considered as well.
Yeah, correct. Nutrients
that we may not even know.
Yeah, it's so complicated.
Yeah, like interesting, like how science has come so far, but yet there's still limits, right?
Correct. I mean,
what we know,
it's not an emphasis at the moment.
Yeah,
to study that and that and that. Maybe they do, but in terms of aquascape, it's not studied in detail.
Right. But it's an interesting thing.
An interesting thing, but I don't think
trivia.
It's trivia, but not critical enough to change the whatever the science industry can anyway.
That's true.
But it's fun fact kind of thing.
Yeah. And just wondering, how much did you pay for the Cryptocoryne Nurii here? Hey guys, share with you guys a secret. You know, we just found out that subscribing to Zenscape is good for your health. What are you waiting for?
So it was it was a very small plant. It's around 10 cm. It's only having like 6 or 7 leaves, and it was a very small leaf. So it's $50. So I keep on telling my peers around me and my friends around me that actually it's the most expensive plant I purchased based on price per gram.
Right.
Because aquatic plant, the size and the weight is so small, but I think people are spending a lot of money now in the terrestrial plants. People are splurging back in during pandemic period. People can spend a few K on a very expensive terrestrial plant like Monstera and stuff like that. But aquatic plants seems to be cheaper from my perspective. Like, oh, $50, okay lah, just buy and try. And aquatic plants are a lot more controllable compared to the terrestrial plants environment.
In a way, this is
control. This is a really controlled environment. So you can just control the water flow, control all the CO2 level, and once it's stabilized, most of the plants will survive actually quite easily as well.
Right. Yeah. And what would you say is your maintenance regime and
Okay.
How do you?
I do generally do weekly water change. I do like a 25% change, and during this time I will then scrape the fish tank for all the minerals. Maintain the pipes. The pipes are actually this pipes is something that I would enjoy very much now. So in the past it's the glass lily pipe. And you have to scrub all the way in with a flexible tube. All the way, and it's very hard to go all the way in. Depending on if it's the intake flow, you can't go all the way in. You have to take out the whole pipe. So this is the Aquarial Flow series, which you can break down by parts, and the parts are very individually can be cleaned easily as well. So it has a very nice design. So then I would just do a monthly clearing of the brown algae inside because the aqua cleaning can't reach inside. Then so every week we'll just top out the tank water, scrub the tank, and then maybe once a month we'll clean the filter, pre-filter medium. Then the filter medium will clean every quarterly as well.
And in terms of trimming and all that,
trimming not a lot because so I think my tank is not considered super high tech. It's more like in between mid tech and low because the light level is not very bright. It's a 2 feet light for a 3 feet tank, so it was meant to be a bit more gentle, the light level. So with a gentle light level means I have a gentle CO2 rate per second and more linear with the fertilization process. So any errors, then the algae will take a longer time to grow. So with that lean fertilizations, controlled fertilizations is not as bad. Whereas you go for high tech like bubble rate of 3 to 4 and above bubble rate per second, then the algae speed up a bit more faster, I think.
And what's your current bubble rate per
it's
second?
1.
Oh, okay.
one per second only.
Wow,
So it's a very gentle, and because it's not the atomizer diffuser, it's those CO2 reactor.
So it's more efficient, right?
It's more efficient. I don't see bubbles coming up. It's just fully dissolved. So I don't require a lot more CO2 than the normal style.
That's more economical. Actually, right?
It is. So, but just that people can't see the CO2, and then it doesn't feel that actually there's CO2 enriched. But you
Which is fine, actually.
It's fine. But you can dose more. It will still work. It's just that I prefer this gentle. There's a lot more leeway for errors in terms of algae development.
That's true.
Correct.
And some people try to avoid the micro bubbles as well, like in terms of aesthetics,
correct. Some people just don't like the bubbles, but some people prefer the bubbles around. So it depends on the flow of thought. Some people can't do one.
Okay. And one last question for our viewers. Maybe do you have any one piece of advice or any tip that you would like to share?
I think one of the things that people will try to start with Aquascape, it's really try to prioritize everything in the tank. They wanted all the best plants, the best fish or the shrimps or livestock. So I think it is to prioritize. Maybe if you really want planted tank as a start, then you look at your you know, what kind of life source you want to put in. If your shrimps is second priority, then prioritize the shrimps. With that shrimps priority, your fish selections are very, very limited. You can only selected fishes like tetras, boraras. But if you really want active, a bit more vibrant tank like with barbs or siliclics, then you probably will not put shrimps in instead. So it depends on your priority. So, but they can still do well in aquascapes. But for certain plant species like this is Dalnoid, I think certain fishes are not allowed to be kept with it because it munch it like a salad.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why they just got munched very easily.
I see.
Quite commonly for Barb's family, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think it depends on priority. So if you really have certain prioritizations that you really want shrimps, then you look for plants and fish around it. Those
Got
aspects.
it. Yeah, that's a valuable tip. Thank you so much, Harry, for being a guest at Zenscape.
Thank you for having me as well.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember to give us a like. And by the way, we want to give you guys some Algae is my homie stickers anywhere in the world. So just drop a comment down below. Let us know where you're watching from. Thank you and see you next time.